Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review of the Boxraw Impello boxing shoes. So check it out. Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here. Today I'm doing a review on the Boxraw Impello boxing shoes. These retail for $200 on their website. I got mine in the all white colorway that does have orange accents. You can also get this in black. Sizing wise, you can get them as small as size 7 all the way to size 12. Unfortunately, they do not offer the shoe in half sizes. The shoes are made in China. From a spec standpoint, I actually have it here on their website. The upper utilizes 80% mesh with 20% TPU. TPU is a thermoplastic polyurethane. It's a widely used material that most companies use in their athletic shoes. The sole is comprised of 90% rubber and 10% TPU. It utilizes a lightweight high top design. I think this is more of a mid, in my opinion, a mid top shoe. At least when it comes to boxing shoes, when I think of a high top, I think about those boxing shoes that are really high, right? They come up higher up on the bottom portion of your leg. To me, this is more like a mid top shoe, like the Everlast Elite or even the Yami boxing shoes, in my opinion. It utilizes DRV Tech sole. That's basically their fancy way of saying a rubber outsole. They call it DRV Tech. Bridge lock lace system, which is a highlight, which I really like. So the bridge lock lace system right here on the upper, which we'll discuss in more detail here in a second. Integrated heel strap, another great feature, which I think all boxing shoes should have, is that heel strap, which makes it so much easier to take the shoe on and off. Rubberized toe box, strike logo design. That's basically just the Boxraw logo that's integrated into the mesh upper right there on both sides. A little bit smaller on the inside of the foot. And breathable mesh. So that is off of their website. Now, this is a shoe that received quite a bit of hype before they released, and a lot of people, requested that I do a review on them. I've had these shoes for about a month and a half now, and I've used these exclusively for my training in the gym. And this is a shoe that I really didn't know what to expect, because this is the first time Boxraw had ventured into making a boxing shoe. So it's not like some other boxing gear equipment companies like Rival, Title, Ringside, and you name it, that have had, or Everlast, obviously, that have had a history of making different models of boxing shoes. So you kind of had an idea what to expect from them. And in this case, obviously, Boxraw, this is their first time. And I'll tell you this, man, I was actually pleasantly surprised by these shoes. One of the big things for me when it comes to boxing shoes is going to be comfort, especially because I have wide feet. And I think that's a kind of a point for a lot of people, a pain point, if you want to call it, no pun intended, for people with wide feet, because historically boxing shoes typically run more narrow. They're usually tighter fitting, which is great because you want the shoe to feel connected to your body, right? You want it to feel like it's part of your body. But in a lot of cases, especially shoes like Nike, I get a lot of pain on the outside edges of my foot. So that was my biggest concern with this, and I actually went a half size up. So to answer that question, since they do not offer the shoe in half sizes, for those of you that have wide feet, definitely go a half size up. I think you'll be very comfortable if you go a half size up. If you're true to size, stick to your size. If you are true to size on a half size, that's going to be a tough one, because I don't want you to go too large and then it's too loose, or if you go too small, then it's too tight and uncomfortable. Generally speaking, I always tell people to go a half size up, because at least with a half size up, it gives you a little bit of extra room. So maybe you can replace the insole with a different insole that's a little bit thicker to kind of take up more space on the inside of the shoe, or thicker socks. So you can always kind of make some compromises, where if the shoe is too small, then there's not much you can really do to loosen up the shoe or open it up. I mean, you can use like a shoe opener or a shoe toe spreader, but that's still not the best idea when it comes to making the shoe a little bit more comfortable. So again, just looking at the features of the shoe, excuse me, the gloves. You do have, again, the synthetic mesh upper with TPU. You'll notice that the synthetic mesh starts at the very top of the shoe, kind of makes its way down. You'll see that the Boxraw logo is integrated into that synthetic mesh. It's very breathable, and you'll see that throughout the entire upper of the shoe. So you have that, comes all the way down and kind of rotates around the top of the toe box right there. You do have the rubberized toe box that extends from the toe all the way to the back of the heel cup. And you also notice that it does have that rubberized heel that cups all the way to the back of the heel towards the bottom of the shoe. And you have kind of a herringbone oval outsole design in rubber with the Boxraw logo right there, kind of at the pivot point of where the ball of your foot is at. And you also have this plastic piece right there that gives you some stability in the midfoot area. And then you'll notice that the rubber outsole extends right here at the very edge of that toe box. So you have that rubber throughout on the heel cup all the way through. And the back of the heel is very rigid, so once you have your heel locked into the shoe, it does a really good job of keeping your foot in place. Rotating to the inner portion of the shoe. This shoe doesn't have a very large arch per se. So I didn't have any issues in terms of like discomfort. If you have high arches, you might have to get yourself an insole that puts a little bit more of an emphasis on an arch. You'll notice that it does have a removable insole. I do like the fact that this insole doesn't feel like an afterthought. I feel like they actually give you a decent insole compared to some other boxing shoes where it's just a little thin piece of foam and it just feels really cheap and crappy. With this one, it has a good amount of thickness from the heel. I'd say the heel is maybe 3/4 of an inch, and then it kind of tapers down to where your toes are at to probably about 1/4 of an inch. But you'll notice that the insole on here, they give you some textured bumps as well as some horizontal line bumps right here, as well as that padding on the heel cup. And it gives you a good amount of support on the heel and through the mid portion of your foot and towards your toes. The other good thing about this is, depending on the kind of socks you're using, this actually gives you a little bit of grip. So it helps you not slide around on the inside of the shoe and kind of keeps your foot locked in, especially if you're wearing socks. Now, obviously making sure that you have the correct socks on is going to make a big difference in terms of how your foot stays locked in within the shoe. But I do like the fact that they give you these textured bumps as well as through this mid portion of the insole to kind of prevent your foot from sliding around. And you can see that it has a little bit of an arch support there. So if you're somebody that needs more arch support, then I would probably recommend getting yourself an insole and replacing it that has a little bit of a thicker arch support in the middle, because structurally the arch support on here is a little bit more, I'd say, flat-footed. It doesn't kind of roll up like the Nike Hyper KOs or even the Macho Minds do on the inner portion of that arch. For me, I found it very comfortable. I didn't have any issues with that. You also notice the toe box for myself is really comfortable, especially on this outside edge. You'll notice that the synthetic mesh is pretty soft and pliable throughout the entire shoe. It's also very soft on this outside edge, so that's usually where my foot gets a lot of discomfort. And they use this synthetic mesh as well as this rubber upper, but the upper on here is very flexible. This rubber feels very soft to the touch, so it's not extremely rigid to where you feel like your foot is going to be really uncomfortable or it takes a long break-in period. I feel like these shoes pretty much felt broken in right away. I didn't feel like there was much of a break-in period, where some other shoes you put them on and they feel kind of stiff right away and you have to really use them for several days or even a couple of weeks to really kind of stretch the shoes out and kind of feel more comfortable with them. I feel like the shoes were pretty broken in and soft right off the bat and feel really good. Now, the lace-up system on here is another big highlight, which I really like. One thing you'll notice is that the tongue of the boot or the shoe has an elastic piece that's integrated into the back inner portion of the shoe. So if you can see that there, this is all integrated. What I love about this is when you slide your foot into the shoe, this elastic will expand to allow your foot to go into place. But it feels like a sock almost, it kind of wraps around your foot and it prevents the tongue from folding over. Now, if you have a pair of boxing shoes that has a separated tongue, you'll notice that sometimes when you put your foot into the shoe, the tongue has a tendency to want to roll on the outside edge. and it gets uncomfortable because that rolled piece will kind of flatten down as you lace up the shoe, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm kind of describing it the best way I can, but with this, it prevents the outside of the tongue from folding because you have this elastic strap that keeps the tongue open when you're putting your foot in. So you have those elastic pieces right there that acts almost like a sock. Now the lace-up system, which they call the bridge lock lace system. So again, this is what I love about the lace-up system. So starting towards the toe box, you'll notice that it has the laces that's integrated into the rubber TPU up top right here. And then as it gets closer to the mid portion of the foot, you'll notice that it has the exterior laces or lace loops right here in orange. And what that does is it makes it so much easier for the laces to slide and to cinch up the laces as you tie your shoe. So compared to some older style or conventional boxing shoes where typically they have just holes punched out where the laces go and then you kind of push the laces through, you would have to basically pull each strand of lace all the way up to the very top to tighten it up. And it's a little more time consuming. With this, because of this lace system and how it integrates into these loops, it just makes it so much easier to tie the shoe together and to lace the shoe up once you have your foot into the shoe. And then when you get to the very top, it's just a very convenient way of lacing the shoe. So I find that extremely convenient, and I feel like it really saves you time when you're putting these shoes on having that lace system. The other thing is going to be the integrated heel strap as well as tongue strap. So they do have this nylon tongue strap and you also have this nylon heel strap. Why is that important? Well, when you're putting the shoe on, you're not always going to be sitting down like at the edge of a boxing ring or on a chair or just whatever's available at the gym to sit down when you put your shoe on. So what I love about having the two straps is that you can actually be standing up, slide the front portion of your foot in, and then use the back heel strap and just pull the shoe on. And it's very easy to put these shoes on. It slides right in and your foot gets right into the shoe, and then you can lace them up quickly. So I feel like when they designed this, they really had that in front of their mind in terms of like convenience and ease of use. That to me is a very big thing when it comes to certain boxing shoes, because some shoes are a chore to take off and put on and lace up. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. With these, I feel like they're very convenient to put on, and they kind of remind me of Miami boxing shoes, which are another favorite pair of shoes that I've been using in boxing. If you guys haven't been able to tell a lot of my videos, you'll see me wearing my black and white Miami shoes, but these are just like those in terms of convenience. When you do finally lace the shoes on, you'll notice that these orange lace loops actually extend down underneath the synthetic mesh. So once you tighten it down, it actually locks the upper down tighter onto the top part of your foot. It's not uncomfortable, but you'll notice that it actually is kind of hidden underneath there, and you can see how that straps in. In terms of footwork and using this for somebody that's very fast, fleet-footed, I know a lot of people ask, well, is this good for people that use a lot more of an amateur style, back and forth, lateral movement, a lot of footwork? Yes. I think these shoes are excellent when it comes to all your footwork. From a weight perspective, these are relatively lightweight. When I put them on this scale, the shoes came in at about 13 ounces per shoe, which is relatively lightweight. They feel light. I definitely feel like if you're somebody that really relies on footwork, then you'll definitely enjoy these shoes. I think you'll find them very comfortable when it comes to horizontal movement. If you like to move laterally a lot, back and forth, a lot of like front and back movement, I think you'll definitely find that these shoes are very comfortable and have a good amount of grip. From a durability standpoint, I haven't had any issues with the shoes so far. I do notice that on this outside edge on my left shoe, there's a little bit of peeling right here on the rubber, that rubber TPU, and you can actually feel it's a little tacky, so maybe the glue's kind of coming undone from that upper mesh right there. But everywhere else on the shoe is held up really nicely. I don't have any type of splitting on the rubber outsole that's kind of coming apart from the upper TPU material. So no issues there in terms of splitting or any kind of premature separation on either one. Everything is held up nicely so far And again, I've had these shoes for about a month and a half now, so they've held up really well. But final thoughts on the shoe is very satisfied with these. I think that Boxraw did a really good job, in my opinion. And again, this is coming from a place where I didn't know what to expect. I think my key highlights of the shoe is going to be they're very comfortable, especially for somebody with wide feet like myself. Now, keep in mind, everyone, when you say you have wide feet, I can't sit there and say, well, everybody's going to have the same width foot as me. But I consider myself to be somebody that has wide feet, or historically have had issues with the outside edges of shoes or boxing shoes being very uncomfortable. And with these, I didn't experience any of that. They're relatively lightweight. I think they look great. I think from a styling perspective, they look really good. I know some people are going to be, say that these look like the Macho Minds, which they do. They kind of do look like the Nike Macho Minds. But to be honest with you, man, a lot of boxing shoes look very similar. It's just kind of like the design that they end up going with. And they probably get inspiration from each other. And you'll see other shoes that look kind of similar to each other. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I think they do look really good. I like the all white look. They also have it in all black if you prefer the darker color. They're very comfortable. I like the insole that they give you. It doesn't feel like a cheap afterthought. And the convenience of putting them on and taking them off is a big game changer too. The lace-up system, as well as being able to lock your heel into the shoe, and having those elastic straps definitely makes a big difference in terms of ease of use and putting the shoe on, and just the overall performance of the shoe. So definitely satisfied with these shoes. If you guys have any questions or comments, put them down below in the comments box. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find these Boxraw Impello boxing shoes. I'll see you guys later. Peace.